Always, we'll start with the USD, which is looking pretty bearish at the moment. We were hinting at a bearish move yesterday, and it looks like we've actually seen that move come into fruition. So yeah, with that move now, that has definitely put me bearish, and I do think prices are likely to come back into lows. It just looks like the higher time frame trend is just continuing at this point. This consolidation will be trapped in for the past month or so. Looks like it's been put to an end, and price is now seeing that momentum outside of that range, which is the key component of this move. It's not necessarily that price is bearish or we're seeing really strong selling pressure. It's more so that price is now breaking out of this range. The consistent lower highs price has been putting in have now really seen that continuation. So the likelihood of us coming back to lows here is pretty high. At least test the lows. We might not necessarily break through them or continue the trend, but at least get back to the lows is a pretty probable move now. So as for any opportunities regarding USD, I would have a very short bias on the dollar. So basically looking to buy anything against the USD right now. And in terms of opportunities, I quite like this area here. Of course, coming back to retest the low of the range, but also a really nice area of supply now. We did consolidate there for a few hours, couple of days, and eventually price is now seeing some conviction to the downside. So keeping it simple, lower time frame pullbacks, looking basically for the next lower high in this sequence. 1, 2, 3, 4. Can we find the fifth one? Perhaps even a break and retest this low could look interesting, especially if you drop to maybe like a 15-minute chart. That could be an area to keep an eye on. But in terms of trajectory, I do expect USD to keep falling here. Very surprising to see price suddenly rally. And it looks like we're about to break through this low, which again is pretty significant because this was the low which gave us this high. So technically speaking, if you're focusing purely on market structure, you got a low, high, higher low, higher high. Technically, you want price to break through that low before you do start shorting. Not always do I wait for a low to be taken out before I do shift my bias, because sometimes it could take a while, or sometimes the picture's very clear beforehand. But when we do break structure, is always that key significant component to say that, okay, that bullish structure is put to an end and we can really focus on the bearish structure. And that's kind of what we're getting right now. So yeah, dollar more downside, 96.365 will be targets for that one. And euro dollar pretty much the exact same, of course, in the opposite direction. Looks like we're heading back to the swing highs at 1.183. We made a very significant move yesterday, breaking out that range. I believe that was just pretty much as we ended the stream yesterday, actually. I think that was, a few hours after, and price is now showing a lot of conviction to the upside. Again, I did say it would be nice for a pullback into this area, but looks like euro was far too bullish to even see that happen. I do like this consolidation here as well. There was a slight break and retest, but it would be nice to see a slightly bigger pullback there. If euro, this could be a nice opportunity again on like a 30, 15-minute chart for some entries to take it back into 1.183 there. So I quite like what I'm seeing here with euro dollar. A lot of bullish momentum in line with the DXY, and our opportunity is basically to take advantage of that momentum and buy the dips all the way back to highs. Now, we don't have so much room to travel into. We are going to be greeted by resistance pretty soon now, but I do think there's a likeliness for us to take out the highs. Might not necessarily see a massive move. Maybe go and hit the next big psychological level at 1.19, but as we approach resistance, I naturally have to be a bit more careful now with the buys. Yes, momentum's up. We saw the continuation of these higher lows, which again is the inverse of what the DXY did. But if I was looking to trade euro, it would be on like a 15-minute chart, trying to gauge these smaller pullbacks for a long. At the moment, we're not really seeing much pullbacks, to be honest. Just brief kind of periods of consolidation followed by a continuation. So it would be nice to get a bigger pullback on the cards, which could happen. And targets 1.183 and maybe even beyond that as well. But pound USD does have a bit more room. So I think in terms of opportunities, pound will give you slightly cleaner trades and a bit better in terms of the risk to reward. Of course, euro could still have a big move, but we do have that resistance just ahead of us, so we have to be careful. Whereas pound, now that we've broken through this level here, let's draw that again. Now that we've broken through this level here, that becomes our next big level, and automatically we've got a lot more pips between current price and that next big target, about 150. So if you can find some intraday pullbacks along the way, there's a lot of room to ride. There's a lot of space for price to move into. Therefore, there's opportunity. Euro dollar, a little bit cramped there. Of course, we could see price break through, but you do take a bit of a gamble. Price could very much reject resistance there. So I'm liking what I'm seeing with pound USD. There was a nice pullback intraday yesterday to retest the zone, and now we've seen again a continuation. So the plan is just looking for more upside. Again, if you're intraday, maybe keeping a close eye on this last down move. Now we get a continuation for that. Could see price pullback, retest, and continue. Again, just looking for those pullbacks. However you look to trade pullback, counter trend line breaks, moving averages, flag patterns, waiting for double bottoms, whatever you're looking for, break and retest, whatever you're looking for. This is just where you're trying to look for those opportunities to follow that momentum. As long as pound USD doesn't break back underneath this level, so as long as we don't come crashing back down like this, then of course I will look to reanalyze and maybe switch the bias around. But at this point, as long as we stay above this area, I see momentum eventually picking up back to 1.137839. Bit of a mouthful there. I see price picking up all the way back to the highs there. So the plan is, again, looking for those pullbacks, looking to ride that momentum. It'd still be nice to see a bigger break and retest of that zone. But yeah, if you're intraday, there's opportunities. If you're swing, there should be opportunities as well. Dollar CAD looks like it's picked its direction as well. Lovely counter trend line break. I was waiting for a push back to the highs. Unfortunately, it wasn't meant to be. I was looking for a push back into the high to reject it, then catch the sell in a similar fashion to what he did over here. Price ripped the high, really aggressive reaction. That's kind of what I was looking to bank on and take advantage on just in the next high over there. And that way I'll get a really safe stop loss. My entry be way up high, and it'll really allow me to hold maybe for the full move back to lows, which is where I'm expecting price to eventually get to. So dollar CAD is another pair with a lot of room. We spoke about euro, a little bit cramped. Pound USD, a lot more room to trade there. Dollar CAD, I think it's got even more room. In terms of pips, you've got 200 pips there, but just look at the space between current price and that next big level. I expect price just to basically continue this bearish trend here. So that's very much the plan there of dollar CAD. There is a big support level ahead of us, so I would be watchful of that. I wouldn't have the thought of just jumping into shorts because, okay, I expect price to continue. There's no really logical place for a stop loss right now. You're going to be greeted with very significant support in a matter of time right now, so I wouldn't suggest looking to short just yet. But again, similar to pound USD, a strong break of this area, as long as price stays below, that could be something to look at for, again, a bit more of a swing bias. Maybe if the market does pull back to some degree, there might be some intraday shorts on the way down. There's a lot of momentum here. Let's say if we have another pullback to form another lower high like we did here, maybe even a push back into supply there. That could be a nice place for a pullback. Of course, we're seeing a lot of momentum right now, so I wouldn't be forcing anything. But yeah, the bias is very bearish right now for myself. And I do expect lower prices. Aussie dollar. So Aussie dollar's looking to short last week. Did not give me a setup. And again, that's the power of waiting for entry confirmations. There will be times where you do have an opportunity, you're looking for it, looks good, ticks all your boxes. Now you're just waiting for entry confirmation to get into the trade, but you just don't get it, and it potentially saves you from taking an unnecessary loss, which is why patience and discipline is really important, because you're going to make sure that when you actually do take a loss, it's the loss you're supposed to take, not because you were too early to jump into the position. And it looks like Aussie dollar is trying to push high, and of course, with the DXY looking weak as well, I don't really want to be shorting the Aussie dollar right now. It looks to me that we found support over here, retested very well, and now price potentially is going to continue higher. Now, I'm not so keen to be buying Aussie dollar either. It's more so the short looked really good in terms of the market structure, where we're trading how corrective we've been to the upside. So it was only really a short or nothing for me for Aussie dollar. It's not like, okay, we've broken to the upside, let me try and buy this. It's not really an attractive buy. Yes, momentum's picked up, but this is still a very corrective structure as a whole. Looking at some other trends like pound, euro, dollar CAD even, a lot more aggressive nature, so I quite like what I'm seeing. Yes, Aussie dollar's probably still going to go higher because of the weakness with USD, but I'd rather look to trade dollar CAD or pound USD or even euro than Aussie. It's still quite choppy. Yes, momentum's picked up, so again, maybe intraday, some opportunities look good there. I spoke about the retest of this area yesterday. Perhaps another push down. That could be a nice place for a buyer, or even a breaking retest of this area. but altogether not the biggest fan of the price action for Aussie dollar. But yeah, I would stand bullish. In terms of New Zealand dollar, again, bit of an awkward place for some buying opportunities, testing some former resistance supply. You know, this is where we formed our last lower high before this move down. So again, do I really want to be looking to buy here? I know DXY is weak. Looks like we're seeing the USD pairs trend higher. So you would expect New Zealand dollar to join the party as well. But is it the best pair to be trading right now compared to like a pound, compared to maybe like a dollar CAD or even euro? Probably not, because we're not coming directly into supply here. We still do have bearish structure at play. Even if we do think this structure will eventually break and price will trend higher, it hasn't done that quite yet. So this is still an obstacle for price. We might still see a miniature sell-off before we do trend higher. It's not necessarily that price just has to explode right now, like maybe some of the other USD pairs are doing. So it's just in a bit of an awkward place for a buy. I think intraday, I actually wouldn't mind to see another move down and maybe a sweep of the low here, and then try and catch a buy here intraday, like hourly, 30-minute entry. You know, this was a very strong area of demand. I believe this was CPI yesterday, not yesterday. I keep saying that. This was CPI last week. So really aggressive push down, strong push to the upside. Maybe even tapping into that area. That could be a nice place for a buy. So I think this is a nice intraday opportunity. Again, not necessarily looking for something crazy, but maybe a push to resistance. You're betting on basically this kind of bullish trend continuing, and you're looking to try and position yourself in a smart location to take advantage of that, whilst of course being aware that yes, we are in supply and resistance. Maybe price might have the bigger move, so yeah, I can still maybe take advantage of a bounce and still take profits near the high potentially. So I think intraday this could look good, especially with this move looking really corrective. It's not like we're steaming to the upside and there's a lot of momentum right now. This looks really corrective. So another push down, then some buys. I think that could be a nice opportunity, or just waiting for the break of structure, then some pullbacks. Then that becomes a much better opportunity, and the odds of us coming back to this high and then this high, will increase a lot. So depending on what you're looking at, there's opportunities there, but it's a bit awkward where we're trading right now. As for gold, flying to the upside like it's no tomorrow, is just absolutely loving life right now. I mean, this becomes a nice area for a retest. Really clean break there yesterday. This becomes a nice consolidation. Just again, look for price to get back there, retest well. Hopefully find some trades on the retest of that for continuation. In terms of lower time frames, I don't think there's much to do right now. Looking a little bit corrective here, so I'll be a bit skeptical about buying here, especially after we've just created new highs just recently. So a pullback would be nice. You can probably even consolidate the focus more to this area. Nice range, exploded to the upside, come back to retest. I think that's a smart place for a buy. As long as the pullback is healthy, the entries are healthy, I do think that's where you want to be keeping your focus. And then, yeah, onwards and upwards. It looks like we're hitting 3,700, or about to anyway. So it looks like the market is just ticking off these big prices one by one, and it's not really slowing down really. Beyond that, then you got 3,750, which I think is a really big psychological level. You got 3K, 3,250, 3,500, 3,750, then 4K. So 3,750 is the midpoint between 3,500 and 4K. So I think that's a pretty big psychological level, and that's maybe where we're headed towards before maybe the next big correction. Again, that's just me thinking out loud, but that would be a significant price to keep an eye on. And we're not too far away now. So yeah, momentum looks good. Buys still look the best bet. I would not be trying to sell gold at all. And silver, really interesting retest yesterday. We had the consolidation here, which again, price did break to the upside, in a similar fashion to gold. Really nice breakout. We came back for a retest there really quickly. Not really the characteristics I'm looking for when I'm looking for my pullbacks. Let's drop to the 15. Yeah, it was really aggressive, but hey, the retest performed very well, and we're back at highs again. So I would say if you're looking for more buying opportunities, I would wait to see if we can run back to the same low. Maybe come back to retest it, maybe wick through slightly. Altogether, still taking advantage of the retest of this range whilst coming back to lows, maybe taking out some early buyers. And of course, that could take you back to resistance and maybe even beyond that as well. But Looking at the bigger picture for silver, it's still very, very bullish. I mean, this will still be a nice area for a pullback as well. If we do have that bigger pullback, I'll keep an eye on this zone. But yeah, it's just about timing those pullbacks, really. Not trying to do anything complicated, really, with silver or gold. The market's bullish. Let's take advantage of that momentum.